Hi, Lisa. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me today,
Well,
Jeff.
thank you. Thank you for taking the challenge. We do sign in a little bit early, just in case we do some background chatter. We don't want to eat into our actual time. For those of you, I say who are new to us, this is only our second one. So everybody's new to this platform. Take your hot seat challenge for success. And the concept is I don't claim that I see dead people, but I will see things about you that's unique to you that nobody's can lay claim to that gives you an advantage in your market over your competition. And I call that your secret sauce. So I thought what I would do is not everybody's prepared to discover the secret sauce. That's okay. I have no problem with that. But there are those who are really driven to be successful and they will do whatever, I won't say within reason, because if sometimes you have to be a little bit out there to be successful. And I think this hot seat challenge fits that category. It won't be for everybody, but if you are inclined to say I can handle that. I can challenge myself. It's not the challenge to me, but challenge themselves to take another step further. So my role here is to find something unique about you that maybe you've, hopefully for me and for her or him, they haven't realized about themselves that gives them a distinct advantage over the competition that nobody else can lay claim to. And again, I call that your secret sauce. Now, this is a 30-minute soundbite. So we're talking about turkey dinner. I'm not going to fix the whole turkey in this short time period, but we can get the biscuits prepared as part of a hint of her secret sauce. And Lisa Bear was one of those people who chose this challenge. And I start off by, and by the way, anybody else who would like to be a part of this, there is a sign-in link for that, along with learning more about the value of what Lisa is doing. But that be said, before we go that further step, I'm going to ask Lisa a question. And Lisa, what's your favorite pastime?
Um, I like to spend time with family. I like to
Okay,
spend time with friends.
right.
I also have a secret. What is it called? Like when you don't really want to share it with
Well,
people, but I'm going to
it'd
share
be
it
just
with everyone right now.
it'd be just between us. So you
It's
can.
just between us. I have started to get into something called K dramas,
I'm
and
sorry. Could you spell that for me?
it's Korean dramas.
Ah,
Yeah, and there's actually, quite a following of the different Netflix shows and Prime shows, and I have one of my very best friends who I was her maid of honor in her wedding, and I've known her since she moved to my town in, I want to say, ninth grade, and our bedrooms, she lived directly kind of behind me but below me, and our
mm-hmm.
bedrooms were both in the back, and we could tell when each other were still awake.
Right.
So this is someone I've been friends with for a real long time, and she sends me different links and different ways to kind of log on to sites I've never even heard of and to find all these K dramas. So it's a good way to, you know, escape and really think about nothing else because you do have to read the subtitles, and they're
Ah, okay.
yeah, and they're very silly,
They're very what again?
silly.
The subtitles, the studio or
No,
the
no,
movie itself.
the shows themselves are very silly and very benign and very vanilla. And when you just kind of need an escape for half an hour,
Right.
it's kind of a good way to like wind down instead of watching the news at night.
I hear that. Interesting. So that's what you say. Why you like it? Why? How was it that this lady, I'm assuming, has been such a long time friend? What was about her that's kept the bond strong?
Um, I think it's, I've been very fortunate. I still have a really tight group of friends from middle school
Hmm.
and even elementary school. One of my closest friends, she lives in Santa Cruz, California, and we grew up together. I grew up in West Orange, New Jersey,
Right.
and we are still friends.
Not
I was actually her maid of honor as well. So
nice.
yeah, so I have a sister, so I couldn't reciprocate when I got married, but it's really a privilege. I don't know. what it is, but I think I think I'm just lucky and privileged
Hmm.
that I've been able to maintain these friendships. And it's funny because sometimes you think about who's going to have your back,
Right.
and I think I certainly have made, I'm going to say, newer friends, even though I've been friends with them for 20 years at this point,
Right.
through my kids, or even longer than that. But the people that I've known for over 50 years are the people that I know I have their back and they have mine.
Right. Oh, that's nice. And I would suggest, and I'm not going to preempt the first folks, for those who are seeing us again for the second time, the protocol is for the first 20 minutes of our 30-minute dialogue, I'm going to focus on the person. And that's why I ask, what's your favorite pastime? And in the last 10 minutes, what I will do is to correlate or relate who the human being is to her business or his business, and what's unique about you, in this instance, Lisa, that provides a distinct value. And for those who like fancy words, that your differentiator, the problem with differentiator is people can copy, but nobody can copy a Lisa Bayer. So what's unique about Lisa that people will say, hey, I didn't know that about her. I want to hang a hat on that. So I'm trying not to summarize, but I'm intrigued. And I look down every now and then because I take notes. This is not rehearsed. This is spontaneous. No, there's no script to this. And certain things that highlight my mind, I have to respond to. So you said you were fortunate or lucky, perhaps not fortunate so much. Fortunate, I agree with. I think there's something about you, the person, that encourages these long lasting friendships to occur. So I would my nuance that a little bit differently. There's something unique about you as a persona that people respond to. And by the way, folks, in business, that's isn't that how it works? As opposed to try to sell yourself, push yourself, promote yourself. So we're gonna. That's I'm 14 minutes ahead of my timeline on that. So I'll come back to that a little bit later. You mentioned you have that you like to read subtitles. Doesn't that take a lot of concentration?
It does, but I guess because the shows are kind of so silly.
Okay.
It doesn't, it does and it doesn't. I don't mind it because I kind of that's if you just start that way, then it's not that big a deal.
Right.
But I kind of want to go back, like when you said, why am I? What is it about the people that I'm friends with? I will say that I'm not the kind of person that needs to have 1,000 acquaintances.
Mm-hmm.
I really, the people that I might know a lot of people, because I still kind of live in the area, and my husband grew up in the town we live in now. But I'm very solicitous about the people that I kind of really let in.
Right.
And I think it comes down to respect and trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, my people know that they can trust me and they know that I'll be there for them. And I feel the same way to the people that I've kind of selected to bring into my close circle.
I'm a slow rider, folks. So allow me on this. Interesting point you made, and I certainly hear what you're saying loud and clear. I don't argue that. You say that you like to spend time. So these are people you've met. You like to spend time with family and friends. Well, you
Mhm.
said the friends part of it, but what is it you enjoy sharing time with your family?
Um, I think that, even the same way that so my sister who
Mm-hmm.
lives in Florida is my best friend.
Okay.
And I think that
Excuse me. Is she older or younger sister?
she's 3 years younger than I am.
Okay.
I will say that we grew up fighting each other,
All right.
nonstop. Um, so it wasn't always that way.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're 3 years apart, and we went to college about 20 minutes from each other.
Oh
So the
my.
last year of school, I was a senior and she was a freshman.
Was that deliberate or happenstance?
Happenstance.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I think it's at that point is when we started to get close, when we were both grown ups and adults, I would say. And, um, maybe we needed to lean on each other a little
Excuse me,
more.
I have to interject with a question. Grown-ups and adults, I don't see that necessarily the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
But I didn't mean to
Um,
interrupt. Go ahead.
okay, well, I'll say we were adulting. I don't know. So
Fair enough.
tending to be. But I think that, kind of the childhood stuff was out of the way, and now we were more in the real world.
Right.
We we did share a car that my last year and her first year, and so we did get to see each other a little bit more. And I had been away for 3 years,
All right.
so in that sense, I think it gave us an opportunity to, I don't even want to say to connect, not reconnect, but connect on a different level.
Okay.
Um, and our my youngest and her oldest are 3 weeks apart.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, I mean, they say you don't choose your family, right? So you don't have, but we really do, and we're very different. My sister and I couldn't be more different.
How are you different?
Um, she really likes the outdoors, and she can pack everything into a backpack and fly to like some remote place in Kentucky for the weekend or something. And that is, or she likes to camp and things, and she likes to paddleboard and swim. And I kind of like a nice hotel to go back to.
Okay.
And if I go away for 4 days, I still might take a big suitcase because I don't want to limit myself.
I
Um,
understand that
and
syndrome.
probably wear two things in it, and I could have gone with the backpack, but
Right.
I just,
You
that's
know,
my,
you could
um,
be invited to a formal wedding. I get that. While you're gone, you have to prepare for that.
she's a scientist. She's an epidemiologist
Ah,
and
okay.
works in public health, and I work in more social sciences and psychosocial and that kind of a thing. So
Right.
our professions are, or our career choices, or and skill sets are very different,
Okay.
but our values are the same.
Well, I'm intrigued by that. Really, if you're different, how values? I would think being different would imply different values. So it's almost like a misnomer of we're different, but we share value. How does?
I don't think that's this. I don't think that it
I'm
is.
asking. I'm not being argumentative.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I hear you, because you would think that automatically. I mean, but I, there are a lot of people that I'm friends with or that I like a lot, and
Right.
we may have different hobbies or different. And I think that's kind of what I'm speaking more about is, you know the 9 to 5 jobs or the hobbies or things like that. But when it comes to our children and family values and, um, I will say, social values, um, you know, social democracy. In that sense, we
Right.
share the same viewpoints. And
Okay.
and yeah,
I'm writing again. Another question to that. So, if I'm getting this correctly, I'm sliding into the business side transition, but I'm getting the impression that the differences add to the value. You have different perspectives that you can agree to disagree and still share dialogue. Am I hearing that correctly?
yeah, I think on the main, like the hot topics, so to speak, we don't disagree.
Right.
Um, but and then the other thing is we can also expose each other to different interests.
Which is kind of what
Um,
I was alluding to. Right.
yeah, so I it may not be my choice to do something, but we can push one another to try something, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about my daughter and her boyfriend. She went scuba diving because that's his thing,
Right.
right? In a million years, it wouldn't have ever entered her world to try scuba diving. Now, she didn't particularly like it, and I don't think she's anxious to go back.
Right.
But I think sometimes it's good when you have people who do push you, whether it's push you to try something physically, or an activity or challenge you, um, mentally. I mean,
Right.
I enjoy discourse with
Mm-hmm.
people who don't necessarily share my viewpoints on something. So, as long as we remain respectful to each other, and
Right.
in the end we agree to disagree, and someone, I don't necessarily like to speak to someone who they're talking at me and all they're trying to do is get me to see their point of view. And I had this experience recently, actually, with a work related thing. And someone said to me, she kept going on and on and on about something and said, but you're not listening or you're not hearing me. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, I am.
Mm-hmm.
I hear everything you're saying. I'm
Right.
just not agreeing with you. And you're just trying, you won't let go until I say I agree. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to agree, but it doesn't mean I don't hear you.
Right. I
And
hear.
so, I think that's really kind of my where I come from. I don't
Okay.
have to, we can be respectful, and you and I don't know what your political leanings are and you don't know mine, but we
Mm-hmm.
could have, if we're not necessarily, I'm only saying that because that's the hot topic these days with the midterms, if a couple days away or tomorrow or whatever, then it doesn't, but as long as we can have a meaningful and respectful conversation with each other, I like that. I enjoy that, and I will learn from it. I always say that every experience, whether it's good or bad, I learn from
Well, then we're going to start from this statement and work our way backwards into your business. That what is it that you do?
it. So, what I do is,
Excuse me.
I guess my elevator speech is I provide holistic advocacy and care coordination for older adults, adults living with disabilities, patients, and their family caregivers.
That's a mouthful.
Hmm.
So, what do you mean by holistic approach? What would be a non-holistic approach versus what you do differently?
I think, and maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I think what, in the sense, if you tying it together, let me tie it together. So I try to look at the whole person.
Right.
So let's say I'm working with, an older adult, and you know, what I'll look at is I will look at everything around the older adult. What are the older adults' likes, hobbies, support system? Certainly, I'm looking at medical, legal, insurance, ar- arrangements, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. So
Right.
I work as a consultant, to try to really tie everything together. But I really try very hard to do it without judgment.
Right.
Um, and and I like to look at the whole person. So I don't start by saying how old is
Mm-hmm.
your, I mean, I've worked with people from 19 to 103.
Okay.
So, I do not work with children. That's just not my
Your niche.
specialty skill set.
Right.
But I have worked with, people across the lifespan, but my first question is not how old are you?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have worked with 60-year-olds who need more care, or than maybe a 97-year-old.
Okay.
And so, it's, to me, I think you really have to look at the environment, you have to look at the support system, you have to look at the medical care that they're currently receiving. You have
Right.
to look at, you have to get to know a person, from not just what you see today,
Right.
but who are they? What do
Okay.
they enjoy? What are their hobbies? And I think that, a lot of medical care, so to speak, and I am not a clinician, but a lot of our medical care is provided in silos, in the United States. And, when you go into a doctor, even if you go within the same health system, they may have a list of your medications,
Mm-hmm.
but no, but you can go 3 times to different providers in the same health system, and they still haven't made the correction
Okay.
to the medications.
I hear that. Now,
So,
I'm intrigued by the terminology, yet still holistic. You've got some letters behind your name in the bio that is a part of this podcast.
oh,
And the letters are
JD.
Jeez. JD.
So
Duh.
yeah, so
And,
I am an attorney. Yeah,
CCM. So what
yeah.
is that? That doesn't sound very holistic to me. What is that stuff? And how does that have any value for what you're doing?
It does, but I
Okay.
think I want to go back to even just what I studied in college. I was early childhood
Mm-hmm.
was my major,
Right.
and then I worked as a case manager in Boston.
Right.
I worked with older adults under the for the city of Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I did case management, and then I went to law school.
Right.
And at the time that I applied to law school, I actually considered going for a JD MSW. So it would be a law and a social work degree combined.
Right.
But there were very, very few programs.
Hmm.
And we didn't have the internet. We were using computers as word processors. That's
Right.
why.
Okay.
And so everything that you could learn or glean pretty much was from a book or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only couple programs that I knew about were not ones that I was interested in.
Right.
So I decided to go to law school, but I also made the decision early on that I was going to go into public interest law.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I was able to use my law degree to effectuate change in the social sciences or social services world.
I'd never heard that phrase before. A public interest law. I'm just
Hmm.
intrigued of how many different facets of law that exist out there. Uh,
Yeah, so public interest law, and actually, I started the Public Justice Foundation, which
okay.
was really pretty cool. And I don't know if I've ever had the chance to speak about this
Mm-hmm.
professionally. So, and I don't even know how we got here, but you're pretty good at what you do, Joe, I have to say.
Well, thank you for the
I
plug. I
certainly
appreciate
didn't
that.
expect our conversations to go in this direction, but so when I as a 1L first year law student, myself and two others, we started the Public Justice Foundation,
right.
and with the support of the dean and a couple professors who we formed a 501c3
Mm-hmm.
organization, and it was very cool, like as a 1L law student, to be sitting in meetings with the dean and the associate dean and trying to figure out even what our tax status should be when I
Mm.
had really probably no idea what I was talking about.
Right.
But anyway, so we started this foundation, and the idea was that we raised money to provide scholarships for students to take jobs in public interest. Public
Mm.
interest being things, um, legal services, legal aid, and something in the environment, working with persons with mental health,
Right.
anything like I would say nonprofit law.
Mm-hmm.
So like law that relied on not billing, not a white shoe law firm billing corporate clients, but working more off grants and government money or whatever it would be, but nonprofit status law.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
so we were able to put students in, who wouldn't otherwise be able to take those jobs because they needed a stipend. And so we were able to give them stipends
Mm-hmm.
to work in, um, you know, in areas that they wouldn't otherwise have gotten paid.
Interesting.
And the Public Justice Foundation is still in existence today.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated over 30 years ago.
Right.
And so I can't do the math in my head. And that's where my sister and I are different. She's all data, and I need a calculator for 2 plus 2.
Fair
So
enough.
yeah. So yeah, so it's still in existence today, and they've grown, and they do amazing work and give out tons of stipends. And
Nice. Well, I'm going to interrupt because I need to get my flow in here.
yeah.
That when I'm hearing from you, the continuum, and I go back to the issue of you like the K, what is it, K
K
drama
dramas.
or Korean
K
drama.
dramas.
Yeah,
Yep.
never interesting, and the fact that it's something different. You're
Yep.
not put off by you have to actually read the script because the value of what you're experiencing justifies the effort.
Hmm.
You talk about friends over a long time period that you've maintained contact with. And I said earlier, it wasn't a matter of lucky; it's a matter of your persona that you stick to what you do. When you see value, you will pursue it. And again, that's back to the Korean thing. I sometimes I'll turn a Netflix thing off. I'm not knocking Netflix or HBO or whatever. Just I got to read the stuff too, so it's kind of an annoyance. But for you, you don't mind the need to concentrate for the value you get out of it. When you spoke of your nonprofit, your 501c3, the value was there and you pursue that also. You have a varied background in the path that you're on now. And I think anybody, not anybody, people could claim that they do what you do as well or better. But the point I'm making here is there's something unique about you, that the value is always first, and people will say, I really care about my clients. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But your history reflects the fact that when you see value, you will stick with it. The fact that you took this hot seat challenge, when I first mentioned it to you several weeks back, she says, oh, I want to be on that. Speaking to somebody now, well, I need to know what the rules are and how this works before I can commit. Well, if you're going to get ahead, folks, to be blunt, you have to kind of take that challenge. If you see it's worthwhile to you, I'm not all things for all people, I get. But on the other hand, if you want to provide an environment from your competition that nobody's can lay claim to, it's what's unique to you, and I call that your secret sauce. I'm going to look at my notes again. So the issue that you made a comment, when people have value defined by yourself, and your market will respond to you in the same manner. You will never be all things for all people, but
Right.
people do respond to the things that draw on them, and as a preference. So if people, I have no doubt, will look at this video and say, geez, you gave a very nice history for your environment, who you are, the person. Thank you for the plug, by the way. I really appreciate that. But that being said, you smile when you talk about what you do. You smile when you share your experiences. You don't mind the differences of opinion in themselves don't get in the way. It might even enhance the value of what you're doing. So I can see where when you're
100%.
representing a client or family, I say it collectively client, that truly you're going to poke at stuff, pick at stuff, and not take it in a perfunctory manner. If you have to read the subtitles, if you engage with the people around you, the family, the work, the home environment, whatever it may be, the community they live in, these are things you bring to the table as part of your role in your current business. Is that too far off the track?
No, I think that's really amazing, how you kind of pulled it together. And I think it's, you know, I'm at the point where I also, I can choose a little bit who I work with,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to work with people who are nice, honest, um, care about, really hopefully care about their loved ones.
Well, in all fairness, if they're calling you, you would assume that is the case as opposed to not calling you. Is that a fair assumption or no? I'm curious about that.
That's an interesting question. I would say yes and no.
Okay,
Sometimes it's to kind of get the elephant off their back,
I hear
or
that.
and not deal, or it's kind sometimes I'm the out in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that, like, well, if I'll do it, then they don't have to.
Fair enough. I get that.
Um,
I'm
but
going to stop at this point. I hate to interrupt folks, but I got to do a final commercial break. That first off, again, for those who are watching us, thank you very much. We would appreciate you sharing your likes or your dislikes, your comments. Share this with other people you think might have benefit. If you have interest in being on the hot seat chair yourself, please let us know. There's instructions of that also in the down link. If you need, more importantly, if you have a family member who you feel needs care beyond your capabilities at the moment, I think Lisa would be somebody you should seriously consider if what you've heard works for you and what you're looking for. That too is in her links, along with the social connections. Learn about us, learn about each other, and I really enjoyed this, Lisa. You've made it's funny. It's nice if you can ask one question and you get 20 hours of dialogue that's meaningful.
I
So
feel we could keep going for another three, Joe.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I may consider a program after the hot seat challenge. And has anything changed since then? But the key here, folks, is if you want a competitive edge over the competition with people who can't all say, also say, well, I'm as good as that. I'm even better. Well, I don't think anybody's better than Elisa Bayer and who she is, the person. And if what how she reflects her style, her persona to you makes sense to you, by all means consider giving her your business for the needs of your family. Any other questions or comments you'd like to? We got like half a second to say. Anything else, Lisa?
No, I just really thank you for having me, and this was nothing like what I expected.
Okay.
You're really super good at what you do, Joe. So
Well,
thank
thank
you for
you.
bringing out. I
Thank
feel
you.
like I just had a half-hour therapy session in a way.
Fair enough. Well, don't go away, Lisa, because I'm going to sign out now. Thanks for visiting us. Please get back to us. Let us know your thoughts. We do audit the comments. We will get back to you. Thank you again.